Hi, it's Seer with Slap Druid. You're going to be in a great mood all day because you're going to be slapping bosses away. 1 slap, you got Dead Andy. 2 slaps, Dead Mephisto. S tier class. Yeah, in many ways, the Druid in Diablo 2 stinks. No, sorry, wait. Druid has a lot of strengths, but they don't make up for his copious weaknesses. Wait a minute, sorry, I'm getting this wrong. One more try. If you squint really hard, it almost seems like Druid could be the best class in Diablo 2. As my formula goes, we'll chat about our build choices, we have a little rumpus about the gearing process, and we'll top it off with a little introductory information about my game mode of choice being hardcore. I want to get this out of the way right away. Druid has a ton of variety and, it's all a lot of fun, but that's kind of the problem. He's not really the best at anything. He probably has the most build choices out of everyone, but when you're outclassed at every single specialty, I don't know if he can be called the best class. But for his huge selection of things, as well as being a 12-foot tall bear who slaps demons to death, he definitely has a hat in this race of mine. He's probably going to lose, but let's move into what makes Druid fun. So, as I've said too many times in the short span of 1 minute, Druid has one benefit over all of his competitors, and that is that he has like 2,000 builds to try out. So we're going to give 1 point to Druid for that, but we're going to take his point away since most of his builds can't compete for the best one in their respective categories. But perhaps that's the intention, give Druid more variety than everyone else, make him so oddly statted and built that people will debate about his effectiveness for 20 years on the off chance that he's OP. And you know what, maybe he is OP, so you know what, we're going to try building every single top tier-esque Druid build that exists, and hey, I'll be fair. Welcome to Build-A-Bear Workshop. First up, Alfred Hitchcock's The Ravens Druid, F-tier build. If you're curious why, this build involves the use of Raven and sucks. It doesn't do enough damage, there's no synergy, you know. But before moving on to real builds that people actually play, let's talk in depth about these here Druid skill trees. Here lies the problem with Druid. He has 3 subpar trees to experiment with. Usually, being a jack of all trades would make for a good class, but that's what Paladin is for. Druid has the position of having a good but sometimes underwhelming melee tree, a summoning/passive tree which is underpowered in many ways, and finally an elemental tree with a huge selection of not that great elemental abilities, except wind kinda, but we'll get there. Don't get me wrong though, Druid is more than capable. It's was designed to work. They put in the effort to make it a class, so you can assuredly solo the game with it. Birds Druid sucks. Also, we'll knock this out of the way, but the summoning tree is essentially how you fill out your builds on Druid. You can go here for this little guy, or this one right here. You can run the aforementioned Ravens if you want a little extra CC, but some builds have that sorted out anyway. There's like one build that involves this tree a lot, we'll talk about it. But this has been too much doom and gloom. Let's chat about this absolute powerhouse, Fury Werewolf Druid. Solid B tier build. Fury Werewolf is a shape-shifting build that gives you a hybrid of Barbarian's Frenzy, Paladin Zeal, Battle Orders kind of, and you're a thin, tall, strange-looking wolfman. Here we have some power, here we have some slap. You can romp around and slap some ass with this build. General game plan is to have good melee gear and stats and run quick. I might be acting like this build isn't fun, but it totally is. It has really good power, it can kill bosses, you can run quick, you can certainly do worse than this build. But we can actually go up if we want to discuss melee. In testing, I was surprised to find out just how incredibly good Fireclaw's Werebear could be. With a name like Fireclaw's Werebear, I don't see why I didn't think it would be good. But I mean, look at this guy. You could use his shoulders like a shelf. I honestly didn't know how much damage this build could do until I started working on this video. And again, this class is usually relegated to the toilet dimension and is not chatted about endlessly like every other popular class there is. Maybe I'm overhyping it a little too much though. While it's very good, I don't think it touches Lightning Javazon or gets close to any Paladin build, because yeah. But I think this can actually give every classic good melee build a run for its money. Fire Claws makes you start pumping out fire damage in addition to your regular smack potential, and with this we can actually pierce the heart of evil by slapping Bale's ass 15 times per second. You can use Fire Claws with Werewolf as well, but you can only use Shockwave with the bear, so the strategy is to stun the ever-loving balls out of a group with Shockwave and then get to work. Smack them down efficiently and then collect your bounty. This build is sick. Let's chat about a caster build I also love, kinda. Wind Druid is a classic, C tier build. Here's the lowdown on Wind Druid. You're fine, you're good, you have cold damage with Hurricane, and physical damage comes from Tornado, so you can solo things. Unfortunately, that's the end of what makes Wind Druid interesting. I know, short list. The cons of Wind Druid aren't big though, it's just a glaring negative in the form of, why are you not playing Sorceress right now instead? And yeah, diversity, variety, all fun, I agree, so if you like that, Wind Druid is great, very competent, and that's truly the build. You will put up Cyclone armor, put a Hurricane out, shoot tornadoes to kill things in front of you, you can use birds if you want, you'll probably have an Oak Sage out, it's Druid. Gonna go rapid fire through a few more builds. Several of these are just minor swaps to what we've talked about already. Rabies Druid, the token poison build. Poison, of course, eternally being the decent, but you could run something better type builds. But this melee-oriented build has some decent AoE potential, since Rabies can hit, spread, and cause damage amongst an entire crowd. So stack up poison, continue the philosophy of running through the lands, and chomp on a few devilkin. It's cool. Okay, here's Fire Druid, a build that the wiki claims is good for normal, but falls down in Nightmare and Hell. How about that for a boost of confidence? Fire Druid can be strong. It can put in the work. It's just that it's another subpar elemental build in this game with insane magic build. So why should you play it, you might ask? I'm not sure there's a good answer to that question. I'll cite the wiki again. These fire skills look nice. Yeah, and so will all the fire immune enemies littering your screen, but with the right gear, the right merc, and also relying on those summons I'm not overly fond of, you can get through anything. It's just not your best option. But if the stars align and you're up against something without fire immunity, then oh boy, you're looking at some strength there, but it's always a short-lived high. Finally, as the last build I'm going to mention, let's give a little more love to the summoning tree. With Summon Druid, we bring the band back together, so to speak, but unfortunately, both guitarists are dead, the drummer is drunk, and now we suck balls. This is not my favorite build, if you couldn't guess. I feel like an absolute clod as I walk around and do little and watch my ragtag team of wolves, birds, and my merc fight things. And truthfully, this is an okay build. It's basically just less good summon necro, which is hardly an insult, but it's going to take good gear, well planned out strategies, and an intimate knowledge of how to enhance your minions, when even a guide that is praising this build says, this is a build for those who want a harder choice of character to play, and is also aimed at the more advanced Diablo players who would like a challenge added to this game. You know it's not your best choice. Anyhow, that's the builds. Wow, they're done. Time to talk about the barriers to entry, always known as gear. Okay, but as a man close to nature who seemingly wears the tattered remains of various animals, including some ape feet, snake pants, and somehow super slick hair, I'll tell you the best steel and chain armor to stick on yourself. Druid gear is a big spread. Since casters don't necessarily need many items to be great, you can roll with less than optimal stuff. For melee, the bear slaps without perfect gear. I mean, it's far better to have gear, but how many bears do you know who have pants or a weapon? So this is kind of a fortunate boon of the class if you're into that kind of thing. You scale nicely with gear, but it's a decent ladder reset character because you can be effective without much. So in this little race of mine, so far Druid has the smoothest time gearing if you want to be just decent enough. Now if you want to be as good as possible, oh boy, well, there's a lot of optimization. You need your facets, of course, you need your charms, you need those handy runes that everyone needs. And some of the rune words you want on Druid, you don't really want on other classes. Poison builds will use Bramble, for example, but how many poison builds do you plan on playing? Overall, Druid is relaxed, and without skipping the hardcore section, I feel that the word relax sums it up pretty well. You're playing the cool kid class here, taking it easy, being a variety of animal, having good builds, but certainly not try-hard meta ones, and your gear choices reflect that. Alright, let me offer you a little hardcore information as my top off to the video. It's fine. No, really, it's actually pretty good. If you want to feel safer than the average bear, then this is the class for you. You have a good health pool, good range or CC option in the form of Shockwave or those birds that I haven't had high praise for. Powerful ranged abilities give you the freedom to not stick your face into too many bad situations. It is all good for the Druid, really. You have to watch out for a lot of immunity trouble with the class, but since he is the jack of all trades, try out some fusion of builds. Lots of tools in the old kit, and maybe you'll find the right balance to walk through the game, slap up the bosses, and then successfully obtain a Guardian status. In the spirit of competition, it is time to pass judgment on Druid. For too long, he's been sitting here being ignored for his viability, and you know what? Druid is the best class in Diablo 2. If you like playing suboptimal, non-top tier, not the best class in Diablo 2 based characters. So that's my snarky way of saying, just get him out of the way, we got bigger fish to fry.